Hello everyone, welcome to the third part of the story. In the last session, we completed the first and second part of this lesson. This is Jody's Fawn, written by Marjorie Kennan Rowling. From the NCERT textbook Honeydew for Class 8. Now let's get started with the chapter. This is Jody's Fawn, Part 3. Woman directly in front of him startled. Startled means surprised. Startled him so that he tumbled backward. Tumbled here means felt. The fawn lifted its face to his. It turned its head with a wide, wondering motion and shook him through with the stare of its liquid eyes. It was quivering. Quivering means shaking silently. It made no effort to rise or run. Jody could not trust himself to move. He whispered, "It's me." The fawn lifted its nose, scenting him. Scenting here means smelling. He reached out one hand and laid it on the soft neck. The touch made him delirious. Delirious means extremely excited. He moved forward on all fours until he was close beside it. He put his arms around its body. A light convulsion means shiver, passed over it, but it did not stir. Stir means move. This paragraph depicts the situation how Jody meets the fawn and what was its reaction towards Jody. As Jody was in search of the footprints of the fawn on the ground, all of a sudden he noticed a movement just in front of him. He saw the fawn, which took back as it was shocked to see him suddenly. The fawn appeared in front of him, and the fawn turned its head with a wide motion. It looked at Jody with its beautiful liquidy eyes. It was shaking silently, but it did not make any effort to rise or run from that place. Jody purposefully did not make an effort to move from that place because if he had moved, he would have scared the fawn there. That is the reason he was just still there in front of the fawn. Jody went near the fawn and whispered that "It's me." The fawn lifted its nose and started smelling Jody. Now Jody puts his one hand on the soft neck of the fawn. This touch made him extremely excited, and he moved forward until he was close to the fawn, and he puts his arms around the fawn's body. The moment Jody puts his arms around the fawn's body, the fawn shivered a little, but it did not move. He stroked its sides as gently as though. Stroked means pat. The fawn were a china deer. China deer is a clay deer that is easily broken. Its skin was very soft. It was sleek and clean and had a sweet scent of grass. Sleek means smooth and shiny. He rose slowly and lifted the fawn from the ground. The legs hung limply. Limply means without support. They were surprisingly long, and he had to hoist the fawn as high as possible under his arms, and here hoist means pull up higher. When Jody touched him gently, he felt that it is having smooth and shining skin, and he felt that the fawn was very delicate, which was smelling the sweet scent of grass. Jody rose slowly and lifted the fawn from its place, which means from the ground. The legs of the fawn was hanging down without support. As legs were very long, Jody had to lift up the fawn more higher as possible as he could so that he can carry it. He was afraid that it might kick and bleat at sight and smell of its mother. He skirted the clearing and pushed his way into the thicket. Skirted means avoided and thicket means dense bushes. It was difficult to fight through with his burden. The fawn's leg caught in the bushes and he could not lift his own with freedom. He tried to shield its face from prickling vines. Prickling vines means sensitive climbers. Shield means protect. Its head bobbed with his stride, and stride means walk. His heart thumped with the marvel of its acceptance of him. He reached the trail and walked as fast as he could until he came to the intersection with the road home. He stopped to rest and set the fawn down on its dangling legs. It wavered off them. Wavered means shivered. It looked at him and bleated. Bleated means made a sound. And in this paragraph you can underline bobbed, which means bounced. As Jody decided to pick it up and take him home, he was afraid that if the fawn sees its dead mother on the way, it might start kicking and bleating. So in order to avoid that situation, Jody stepped into a dense bushes. As he was moving through the dense bushes, it was very difficult for Jody because he was carrying the fawn in his arms and the legs of the fawns were getting caught in the bushes. On his way, Jody tries to protect his fawn from the prickling bushes and climbers. And as Jody walked, the head of the fawn was bobbed along with his walk. Jody was very happy and excited. He couldn't express how happy he was, as the fawn had accepted him. He reached the trail and walked as fast as he could until he reached the intersection with the road which led to his home. Now Jody was very tired, so he kept the fawn on the ground. But the fawn started shivering with its leg. The fawn looked at Jody and started to make a sound. He said enchanted. Enchanted means in happiness. I'll carry you after I get my breath. He remembered his father saying that a fawn would follow if it had first been carried. He started away slowly. The fawn started after him. He came back to it and stroked it and walked away again. It took a few wobbling steps towards him and cried piteously. Wobbling means shaking and piteously means with pity. It was willing to follow him. It belonged to him. It was his own. He was lightheaded with his joy. He wanted to fondle it. Fondle it means hug. To run and romp with it. Romp means play. To call to it to come to him. He dared not alarm it. He picked it up and carried it in front of him over his two arms. He seemed to him that he walked without effort. Alarm here means frightened. As Jody carried the fawn till the interjunction, he was tired, so he wanted to rest. But then suddenly he recollects his father's words that if a fawn is carried initially, then it would identify and follow the person. So Jody came back and he patted it and walked away again. The fawn took a few steps, then started crying with pity, as it was willing to follow him, but it couldn't. Now it belongs to him, and he felt that the fawn was his own. Jody was so joyful that he wanted to hug it and he wanted to run and play with it. And Jody wanted to call it to come to him. But at the same time, Jody doesn't want to frighten the fawn. And now he could carry the fawn without any effort because there was so much joy in him which gave him lot of energy. His arms began to ache. Ache means pain. And he was forced to stop again. When he walked on, the fawn followed him at once. He allowed it to walk a little distance, then picked it up again. The distance home was nothing. He could have walked all day and into the night, carrying it and watching it follow. He was wet with sweat, but a light breeze blew through the June morning, cooling him. The sky was as clear as spring water in a blue china cup. It's a simile where the sky is compared to spring water in a blue colored cup. He came to the clearing. It was fresh and green after the night's rain. He fumbled with the latch and was finally obliged to set down the fawn to manage it. Then he had an idea. He would walk into the house, into Penny's bedroom, with the fawn walking behind him. But at the steps, the fawn barked and refused to climb them. He picked it up and went to his father. Penny lay with closed eyes. Jody called, "Pa, look." After walking some distance, Jody's arm started aching and he was forced to stop again. But this time, when he walked, the fawn started to follow him. He enjoyed the incident of carrying it in his arm and the fawn again following. He could carry it day and night. He was so tired that he was wet with sweat. But a cool breeze blew through the June morning, which made him cool and comfortable. Jody now neared his house. He reached the steps of his house. He fumbled with the latch and was finally obliged to set down the fawn to manage it. Then he made an idea to walk into the house to Penny's bedroom, fawn walking behind him. So he kept the fawn down and he helped the fawn to climb up the stairs. But the fawn couldn't climb it, and as it refused, Jody had to pick it up finally and go inside his father's bedroom. Penny laid with closed eyes on the bed, and Jody called him Pa. Penny turned his head. Jody stood beside him. The fawn clutched hard against him. It seemed to Penny that the boy's eyes were as bright as the fawn's. He said, "I'm glad you found him." Jody then went to the kitchen. The fawn wobbled after him. A pan of morning's milk stood in the kitchen, safe. The cream had risen on it. He skimmed the cream. Skimmed means removed. He skimmed the cream into a jug. He poured milk into a small gourd. He held out to the fawn. It buttered it suddenly, smelling the milk. He saved it precariously from spilling over the floor. It could make nothing of milk in the gourd. It could make nothing of milk in the gourd means the fawn was unable to drink the milk of its own. And in this paragraph, you can underline buttered, which means pushed, and precariously means dangerously. When Jody called Penny, he turned his head and saw Jody stood there, and the fawn had held hard against Jody's body. Penny looked at Jody's eyes. They were as bright as the fawn's eyes was, because he felt joy in it. Penny told him that he was happy that he found the fawn. After that, Jody went to the kitchen. From the pan of milk, he removed the cream from the milk, took some milk to a groud to feed the fawn. The fawn was also following him slowly. He placed the groud in front of the fawn to drink milk, but the fawn refused it and pushed it aside. Then he started to smell the milk. The moment the fawn pushed the groud, Jody very cautiously stopped it from spilling it on the floor. The fawn could not drink the milk of its own. He dipped his finger in the milk and thrust them into the fawn's soft, wet mouth. It sucked greedily. When he went without them, it bleated frantically and buttered him. He dipped his finger again, and as the fawn sucked, he lowered them slowly into the milk. Here, frantically means crazily. The fawn blew and sucked and snorted. It stamped its small hoofs impatiently. As long as he held his fingers below the level of the milk, the fawn was content. It closed its eyes dreamily. It was ecstasy to feel its tongue against his hand. Ecstasy means happiness. Its small tail flicked back and forth. The last of milk vanished in a swirl of foam and gurgling. When Jody saw that Fawn was not drinking milk on its own, then he dipped his finger in the milk and pushed the finger into the Fawn's mouth so as to make him know the taste of the milk. Then the Fawn started to suck his finger. Every time Jody removed his finger, the Fawn would bleat crazily. So Jody will replace his finger again dipped in milk, and the fawn would suck the milk from the finger happily. It snorted crazily because of the happiness, started to stamp its small hoofs impatiently, and it flicked its tail back and forth. Jody was also very happy. Just the touch of Fawn's tongue against his finger made him very happy and excited. And at the end, the last drop of milk also got vanished. The sound of gurgling itself told how excited the fawn was to drink the milk.